Chapter 266, The World's Commission. Sequence 0. There is still a Sequence 0 above Sequence 1. Sequence 0 is equivalent to a true God. There can only be one Sequence 0 per pathway? Is this the true meaning of the paths of the divine? As long as one consumes a corresponding potion, does a ritual, and grasps the acting method to digest the beyonder characteristic, an ordinary person can become a god one step at a time. This is truly blasphemous. Could the main ingredients of the final potion be the godhood, divine blood, and body of the eternal blazing sun? The information on the diary's last page was filled with so much information that Klein almost couldn't think. He almost made additional body movements. The 22 paths of the divine correspond to the 22 sequence of South Sequence 0. Sun does sound very powerful. Perhaps there's a Sequence 0, death? I wonder what the names corresponding to the goddess and the Lord of the Storms are according to Emperor Rosel's description. Some of these cards are identical to the major Arcana Tarot cards, but some of them are different. The cards of blasphemy he created were standardized with the names of the potions. These can no longer be called potions. Could the reason that the Emperor regretted not choosing the Seer, Apprentice, Marauder pathways be because their corresponding sequence of South have yet to appear? Then what was the reason for the sudden personification of the hidden sage, who was symbolically a deity? What was Rosel plotting in the end? It feels like he became the enemy of everyone in the world. And that only seems possible if it was set into motion by that mysterious and ancient organization. The Primordial Demoness is the name of Sequence 0 for the Demoness pathway. Klein gradually found his train of thought, and he restrained the turmoil that was going through his mind. He knew that he couldn't lose himself in this matter. He had to recover as quickly as possible. Otherwise, Justice and the Hangman would discover something amiss and find it odd. Mr. Fool has been reading that page too long. I really want to obtain one of the cards of blasphemy that Emperor Rosel created. I want to know what else there is other than the godhead providing potion formulas and the corresponding rituals. Klein suppressed his shock and puzzlement and made Rosel's diary disappear from his hands. He wrapped the corner of the bronze table and looked to the side. Miss Justice, well done. You finished Bakerland in less than a week. According to the agreement, what kind of payment do you want? Bakerland is dead. That fast. Alger had left the islands in the past few days and hadn't received the appropriate information. He was astonished for a moment, which made Audrey, who was secretly observing him, feel delighted. Even if Alger was in the capital of the Rorsted Archipelago, the city of generosity, by him, he might not have been informed in a timely fashion. After all, cable telegraph could only transmit limited information. Unless it was particularly urgent or important, there was always a delay of a few days. Sometimes, it would even take the colonists of the Rorsted Archipelago a month or two to get an update on the latest situation in the northern continent. Restraining his thoughts, the hangman looked at Mr. Fool in the thick fog and respectfully said with a hint of humility, "I'm very sorry. I just managed to contact someone and couldn't help. This is a commission, not a help request. Don't worry about it." Klein chuckled. He turned his gaze back to Miss Justice, waiting for her to say what she wanted in return. "May the goddess bless me. Please don't let Miss Justice's request be too difficult. It's best if I can repay her with knowledge. I've learned quite a lot of amazing things." From Rosel's diary, Klein silently prayed to the goddess. Of course, he was very clear that with the gray fog separating them, the Evernight goddess definitely wouldn't be able to hear his prayers. Audrey's eyes darted around as she thought for a few seconds. "Be honest and not greedy, Audrey, and stick to your principles." She gave a faint smile and said, "No, I'm actually the one still owing you. Noyo Eurodora the bounty. Rear Admiral Kilungos bounty was worth a total of 30,000 pounds. I should give your adorer 15,000 pounds. Killing Bakerland cost 10,000 pounds, so I still need to pay an additional 5,000 pounds. However, due to the matter with Bakerland, my finances are recently quite tight. I can only pay this bounty in a few months. Mr. Fool, is that alright? After she finished speaking, Audrey quietly exhaled. She felt that the little stone pressing against her heart was finally gone. Although discussing money and calculating the payment in front of Mr. Fool feels somewhat inappropriate, I can't hide the rewards I received from his adorer. Audrey sighed silently. As for the huge plantation, worth more than 8,000 pounds, it was a private form of gratitude from Duke Negan and not a bounty. 5,000 pounds? I can get another 5,000 pounds? Kilungo's total bounty actually reached 30,000 pounds. Klein was startled. Immediately, he fell into an intense mental struggle. I'm supposed to pay this bounty to Mr. Isaac, but I won't be able to get in touch with him for a long time. Putting the money aside would be a waste. I might as well use this money to enhance myself. When the time comes, I'll repay him by providing help. Klein made up his mind 3 seconds later as he lightly nodded at Miss Justice. Sure. Upon hearing Mr. Fool's response, Audrey's graceful seating posture remained the same, but her heart was completely relaxed. At that moment, Klein leaned back in his chair and fell silent. Then, he manipulated his smurf secretly from a commandeering position. The world coughed and said, "Can I speak now?" Audrey looked at Mr. Fool and seeing that he didn't say a thing, she nodded slightly and said, "Sure." At the same time, she once again did a read on the new member, the world, and made a judgment. When I mentioned that the assassination of Ambassador Bakerland was a result of my commissioning, he didn't show any shock or surprise. He either doesn't know the importance of the matter, not understanding the importance of an ambassador, or has someone who can keep his calm and is good at hiding his emotions and bodily movements. The way he mouths his words doesn't match what he says. It should have been translated by Mr. Fool as well, which makes it impossible for me to get his original vocal tics or know what language he usually uses. Thoughts flashed through Audrey's mind before Mr. World's hoarse voice sounded. I wish to obtain the true root of a Miss Trent, at least 60 milliliters of its juice, as well as the spring of the elves' marrow crystals and the complete spinal fluid of a dark patterned black panther. Which one of you can provide it, or provide any relevant clues? What do you wish to exchange them for? Klein added the Beyonder ingredient needed by the apothecary to his commission, so that the Tarot Club members wouldn't be able to guess the main ingredients of the formula he wanted. Before Justice and the Hanged Man could react, the son, who had been silent the entire time, finally opened his mouth and said, "I know where Miss Trents are, and I can help you obtain the materials. However, I must wait until I finish my advancement and have sufficient strength to join the corresponding patrol team." Recently, he had been accumulating merit points and rewards. He was working hard to obtain the main ingredients for the light supply through the City of Silver's officials and private markets. He was still lacking quite a bit. As expected of the dangerous City of Silver, with its numerous monsters, Klein silently commented in admiration, allowing the world to ask, "Then what do you wish to receive in exchange?" Without hesitation, Derek replied, "A weapon that suits me and can increase my combat strength." The reason why he didn't mention the corresponding ingredients for light suppliant was because City of Silver had them all. They could be obtained through his own hard work. Upon hearing this request, Klein immediately thought of the inscribed steel sword that had appeared at the Beyonder gathering organized by the elderly gentleman, Eye of Wisdom. It was sharp enough, had the effect of exorcism and purification, and could be used for 3 years. It was valued at 500 pounds, perfectly matching the son's described requirements. "Why didn't you say so earlier? It has already been bought by someone else." Klein silently stared at the members. while the world nodded and said, I will find a weapon that meets your requirements as soon as possible. Is this transaction to be witnessed by Mr. Fool? Klein nodded slightly to express his agreement. At that moment, Audrey shot a glance at the sun and warned him. Apart from the mist trench juice, Mr. World's requested ingredients correspond to a sequence 7. The rough price is about 500 to 700 pounds. She felt that the sun was too naive and was worried that he would be cheated by the unreadable Mr. World with cheap weapons. Although Mr. Fool is impartial and advocates fair equal exchange, it's not his place to stop it if both sides agree. After all, some items are of low value, but there are people who are in urgent need. So adding a premium to the price is very normal, Audrey thought to herself. A sequence 7 formula is about 800 pounds, Alger added. He had an instinctive aversion towards new members. Klein translated with great difficulty, for he didn't know what the currency unit of the pound corresponded to in the city of silver, and could only use a Series 9 potion formula as a unit. I understand. Derek slightly nodded, and then quietly added, thank you. The world maintained his silent and staid temperament and didn't comment on what had just happened. He turned to Justice and the hangman, waiting for their response. Audrey thought for a few seconds and said, potion formula for psychiatrist, and their corresponding beyonder ingredients. That's sequence 7 of the spectator pathway. You can gather the information first, and there's no rush to purchase them. Once I have clues regarding the dark pattern Black Panther and Spring of the Elves Marrow crystals, we can proceed. If you are willing to exchange it for gold pounds, you can buy it at any time. Although I'm out of money recently, I can still raise quite a bit if it's urgent, Audrey comforted herself. Alger said in a deep voice, potion formula of the Sailor Pathway Sequence 6 Wine Blessed. This will be more expensive than the Beyonder ingredients that you want combined. If you find it, you can think of the additional payment needed to make up for the difference. I can't guarantee that I'll be able to help you gather those ingredients. Even if it's just one of them, you don't need to expend any resources ahead of time. Hey, Mr. Hangman should have a close relationship with the Church of the Lord of Storms. He should be able to get the Wine Blessed formula normally, right? Is he trying to hide the fact that Hez digesting the Seafarer potion quickly? Klein was startled. All right, the world answered in a low voice and then said, I have another request.